right, I have the stream up and ready to go. Whenever you're ready.
We just talked about this. The not safe for work, not the penis.
You saw someone finally put Foob sex?
I just want you to know that I started streaming right after Foob said penis, so all I caught was
jeez.
Zell's little conversation.
Fantastic.
Damn it! Well, actually, it's funny. It means I'm not the first one to say it on stream.
You're definitely not the first person to say penis on stream.
No, I meant like this stream, this specific one, because it falls to you now.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was
that
right
happens.
timing.
I'm setting a bad example for everybody.
All right, our recap is extra specially important this time because I forgot to start the stream last session until like we were halfway through. So,
Oh, at least you set it up at some point. I thought we just didn't have a stream, and so it was going to be tremendously important.
oh no, I didn't do it at all because we didn't even remember until halfway through when someone was like,
Yep.
"Oh, it's okay, there's a VOD," and I was like,
Yeah.
about that.
There sure is. I got a hard drive corrupted notification just now. Shit.
Yeah, so we definitely need a good recap since we missed session 13 and we're starting with session 14.
I feel like I remember being on Discord with Zeph the next day and just telling him everything that happened.
Nice.
Because I was like, yeah, we don't have a VOD, so I'm going to just tell you all of this, and hopefully one of us remembers.
So what you're telling me now is we could have a special guest named Zeph to give us the recap for us.
I mean,
Incoming.
you know what? If Zeph is in the chat and would like to, I invite him to see how much he remembers. But in the meantime, I'm not going to sit here awkwardly for 3 or 4 minutes in silence. So, would somebody like to give us a super important recap?
I cannot open my notes folder, but if you don't mind me doing it from memory, I'm happy to do it.
You know what? I would love that, and then as usual, I will fill you in on the important stuff that we missed.
I do not remember us getting into any trouble, which might be a record. I think we did 0 combats last time, which means either we spent forever talking about something or we were very well behaved. I do remember we found a way to meld together both quest plans. The would have been overland journey for Primrose to return to Satyr, working with her father, and we're taking Talek with us on what would have been the overland journey, but instead we managed to do it by boat to coincide with a delivery of something. We were going to be guards on the boat trip, and we have convinced the people on the boat to Satyr that Primrose is Kozu's caretaker, and that we are going to be guards, and not explaining really that we're double dipping here. Traveling to Satyr. I don't think we arrived there yet. Are we still on the boat?
Oh no, you definitely arrived.
We made it. We got
Well,
even
I can't
to
remember.
the port office for Primrose.
I'm missing probably the last 45 minutes of memory.
And
give me a clue.
I like that
there was
skipped
murders.
the first 30 minutes and the last 30 minutes. But yes, there were murders.
Oh my god, right, I forgot about that. All the blood and yeah. We did a fair job of investigating it, and then we decided to tell the town guard. Fubarius got involved because of his previous association with the town guard. I didn't want to be as involved, but we both agreed to stay behind. I staked out the house in case we could see anybody returning to the crime scene. That did not happen, and Chris Tail, the super intimidating dragon lady from the open of the game, is now sort of on our asses a little bit about helping her solve these crimes, while we may or may not remain persons of interest in the murder of several, 4 or 5 people.
Lots. Yeah, let's be real. If you guys go down for this, you are not getting a slap on the wrist. Fortunately, I feel like you all have some alibis. Let's see.
Not it.
That was a very solid recap. Because I can see a bunch of other screens, let's talk about a couple things that I think are interesting and or funny. The first was that we spent a good amount of time talking to Haskell Moren, the head of the Farmers Co-op, because it seemed like you guys were curious whether or not he was secretly a bad guy that was summoning Torbs.
You mean because we know that he definitely is.
Well, you guys talked for like 20 to 30 minutes, and afterwards we're like, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. So that thread, whether there was anything on the end or not, is definitely not concluded. Wide open.
And Rayun
I-
left a butt print at the murder scene.
Yeah, that is also important. And yeah, let's talk about that real quick. Everybody did at best mediocre before Holden arrived at the scene. And Rayun did so poorly that he did slip and fall and now has victim's blood all over his keister. Which did come up later because as Christale was surveying the scene, she noticed the smear and was like, I'm looking for that butt. Which may be the first time anybody's ever said that about Rayun, but we won't tell him we said that because he's not here.
And he definitely will watch the stream.
It's going to be in my recap next week.
I think. Let's see. Also, funny / important things was in getting Primrose situated and figuring that whole story out, including creating her identity as Primrose. It was very important that we get Primrose a good disguise, and so Mira whipped out her trunk of disguise kit materials, and with advantage, and with a really good modifier to that rolled double ones. And as usual, thankfully, Morthos was on hand to watch people do something stupid for a while, get pissed off, and fix it himself, chucking a good chunk of that disguise kit into the bay. And Morthos yet again saved the day by making Primrose not look like a circus clown. But good job to Mira for trying.
It's true. That is all in my notes.
Let's see. There was a brief conversation with Ernest Kintz, and then a quick side convo with him and Holden. We still have no idea where the Emerald Dawn is, except not here, and that's kind of funny. There was a heartwarming send-off where the entire Kintz shipping company was waving goodbye to the ship, and somebody said, well, I sure hope that Kozu and Primrose are below deck hiding. And so, of course, they weren't, and they were both on the top deck waving goodbye to everybody. Because she is also a master of subterfuge and disguise.
I do remember saying that, and I do remember being how that went down.
Yeah. Let's see. We arrived at Satir, and I'm kind of cheating because I can see all of the screens, but also I do remember all this. The party split up, with half of them taking Primrose to the Minra shipping HQ, and the other half. Or no, it was everybody.
Just Holden and Talek.
Yeah, it was just Holden that escorted Talek back to the Mossbrook headquarters to meet with Talek's master, Hornel Torset. There was a brief scene there that was kind of some awkward saluting and quiet talk before kind of just like reporting in and then saying, okay, well, goodbye. I guess I have some vacation days before my next assignment. And then everybody left. So Talek is still around. But, healthy. That's good. And then the whole rest of the party found the bloodbath. And I think that's just about it for things that I thought were interesting, important, or funny. We ended the session with everybody reuniting at the Culinarians Guild Embassy, which was going to be a nondescript hotel or inn that I would have had to think of. But at the last second, I was like, hey, you guys just want to go to the embassy like always? And so now everybody is at the embassy, and Holden and Tyrus have also just recently arrived and reunited. That's where we pick up. So we find ourselves in the Culinarians Guild Embassy. This is the largest of any of the embassies you've been in, and is probably the busiest. There are actually a decent number of people going back and forth, but it's enough that you don't have anybody giving you too much of an eye. Like, nobody's really curious about Primrose's decent disguise or Rayun's butt print on the seat. That'll probably get cleaned at some point. You have apparently been attacked by raccoons, but you have the opportunity to get a table that's kind of quiet and off to the side and catch up for a little bit. But you've been given quarters, just like before. You have food available. What's everybody up to?
Sorry, the dog is barking crazy. I don't want to.
No problem. I got one person that's distracted by raccoons, two people are distracted by dogs, and then Tyrus with guns.
D&D is just being overrun by vicious animals.
It could be worse. I got a cat on my lap that won't go away.
Nice. I'll confer with Tyrus and make sure that he doesn't have any additional information from Chris Tail that I don't have, and talk to him about. Sorry.
It's all right.
About whether or not we need to like organize and get our story straight, or whether we just need to play it completely straight faced because any subterfuge is likely to be seen through by her. See if he has any insight from his time in the service.
Yeah, I definitely think we should play it straight. Just because, like you said, she's going to see through everything, so might as well just play everything straight on this one. And being honest is better than lying to their face.
Well, there's also a really good scene that we saw briefly with Tyrus of a number of doors that were just massacred by that woman walking in and out of the room he was in.
That's true.
Yeah. I think more doors died last session than the whole rest of the campaign put together.
I think we're up to at least 3 doors that have been destroyed. Maybe 4.
That could be true.
In the whole
2
campaign?
just from the shotgun, right?
2 from the shotgun, 2 from so we're up to 4 now.
Yep. I think
Mm-hmm.
Nice. It always comes in pairs.
Wonder how many wheels have been destroyed.
Gosh dang it. Joke's on you. Hasn't been invented yet.
So, what do you think is the best way for us to proceed? Should we continue to stay hidden, or should we be extremely upfront with her about the situation and introduce her to Julian and explain what happened and basically like turn over Rayun's butt as part of that explanation just to get ahead of
Well,
any
I do remember
issues?
I already explained to her who fell in the pool of blood. And she looked. What's the best way to explain it? Upset at her idiocy.
Yeah. And I believe that was right after she examined Holden and Tyrus's backsides.
Yeah.
But do you think that we should just go down? Because I know that she said that she'd want to speak to the rest of our party. Assuming that you
Sure.
determined to
I
get
think
back to us.
I think it might be a good idea to go talk to her. Mostly so we can get more information on the other spots that were hit, and we could probably go check those out and see if we can find any clues that link together.
Because from my memory and perception, she didn't tell us to not be involved in the investigation. I think we were basically told to not fuck up anymore, but that she was both watching us, and if we could give her aid and assistance, I felt like I was encouraged to do that.
She invited
Yeah.
you and Tyrus specifically because of your past experience, but she didn't necessarily extend that invite to the rest of the party. So I guess what I'm asking is, do we think it's safe for Julian to leave the embassy where we know that only culinarians have access to her? Like, should we keep her here versus parading her around just in case she's a potential target until we figure out who's behind the attack, since there have been 5 other ones?
I like the idea of leaving her somewhere safe, since we don't have any idea of the scope, or even if she was a target. Like, if there have been other instances like this, it could have nothing at all to do with her or her family. They could have just been, the fourth random target of this, violence. There could be no connection, but I feel like the more people we loop in, the more complicated that web gets. So maybe for now we just leave her here.
Sounds good to me.
It's not lying, it's just not telling the full truth.
I like it.
All right. I will admit that I was briefly handling a dinner dispute, so I missed whether you guys were headed somewhere, but I definitely heard that the goal was to keep Primrose safe.
Yeah, I think we want to become, like, at least somewhat actively involved in the investigation. Either as a whole team, or at least Tyrus and I want to go look and see if we can get information on the previous victims and see if there's any, like, jump off the page correlations we can draw between targets, times, methods, opportunities. See if there's any, like, clear, yarn on a board connections we can draw.
That makes sense. All right.
I know that when we arrived, Holden went off with Talek. We hit the notice board, and in the end of the session, we got the important information from Holden and Tyrus, but I don't know if we shared with Holden the quests that we picked up, including the riddle from Andromeda.
I'm not actually convinced that you guys
Know that that's what it's
discussed
from.
that. Well, yes, and also that you discussed that with anybody at all. But then again, I was talking with the Talek thing, so you definitely have not shared that knowledge.
That's true. We forgot we
Okay.
had that whole conversation while Zell and Tri were in different channels, so he doesn't even know
Oh
that
yeah, that's why I don't remember it.
Yeah.
That's why we didn't have that conversation, because he wasn't around to hear the conversation.
So the new handouts for Holden that we picked up at the notice board, just in case these become important while we're poking around trying to work on this, um, case. There was 3 symbols that we didn't recognize and what appears to be a message from Andromeda the Sphinx. So let me open it up. Eyes close, futures bleed into dreams, fates molded like wet sand, brittle, fleeting, supple in hand. Seek me. ANR.
And, like, did she appear to you and tell you this?
No, it was a message on the notice board.
Was it addressed to you?
Nope, it was just 3 symbols that we didn't recognize.
What makes you think it has anything to do with Andromeda?
Because it's signed ANR. And it's a riddle.
And it's a riddle from a sphinx.
So we just thought that perhaps. Well, do
Saying,
we know
coming
for
into
sure
this
it's
blind,
from the Sphinx?
do we know any? Do we know any of that, or did we suppose some of that?
We supposed some of that. The other ones that we picked up were regarding the library being closed indefinitely, and documents can be returned to satellite depositories, and requests for research and records can be made at the satellite facilities, but they won't be processed quickly. Someone needs a curse breaker for their daughter. And Talek has his own notice up since he's not with our group. I assume he's safe doing whatever it is that he's doing. He has
Yeah,
his
that's reasonable.
own notice to earn money to help pay down his indentured contracts. And there's a Thief's Head contract out at Lebel's Sense in the Labyrinth.
Okay.
So we could potentially split the group and go and work on one of those open projects. Or we can have Primrose keep the cover of being Kozu's caretaker and stay here in the embassy rooms. I was going to call it the embassy suites. And we can go.
No, let's go with Embassy Suites. I like that.
We
You
can
guys have
go
suites.
and ask to see the other 5 crime scenes and see if you can learn anything from that.
While I'm putting thoughts together, is there anything on the notice board or to our 2 existing clients that has a sense of urgency to it? And I don't remember if we're on a clock for anything besides the God's Feast.
Well, we haven't collected payment yet from Julian because we haven't technically delivered her safely. So that contract is still technically open. Although we should have been able to seal the other contract, close out the other contract. Which we did with Haskell for the 250 gold and 1 coin of favor.
Yeah, the Torb one.
Mm-hmm.
Did we or did we not have a quest to act as bodyguards on the sea voyage here?
As crew.
No, that was kind of just your passage.
Sure.
And I guess your cover story.
But that duty is fulfilled now. Is
Yep.
that true? Okay. Then I feel like the most pressing issue is the one that would allow us to complete the next quest, which would be figuring out whether or not Primrose is involved or her family is a target of these attacks, because if we can rule that out, then we can, air quotes, deliver her and complete that mission. So I think we throw everything at that. What do you think?
I mean, that sounds like a great plan to me, anyway.
Yeah, let's do it.
Then, Tyrus, where do they keep records of crimes here?
It's probably back at the precinct that I went and talked to her in the main quarters. We can probably go over there and maybe get access to them. So I recollect from my mind, right, Zell?
Yep. And I was about to reveal a token showing you where that was, except I forgot to put you in Satir, so let's do that first. So welcome back to the city. I worked very hard on a lot of these bubbles, and now I'm going to introduce to you one more, Central Command.
Central Command.
That I definitely didn't forget to make with all the other prep I was doing. Okay, well, I think the only thing I need before we move on is anybody that's curious and has spent any time at all in their lives in Satir can feel free to make, I'm going to say probably just an intelligence check, because I can't think of any skill. Maybe like history would be appropriate. I'm going to look at the character. I wish I could remember these character sheets. Let's see.
All right.
Yeah,
Do I
let's
get to
go.
choose which one?
I'm going to say probably just history. Yeah. Wow.
Nice.
All right. Once again, Morithos coming in to save the day.
I would like you to know that with that -1 on there, just so you know.
Yep. All right.
I mean, I
What-
lived here, but did I actually like live here?
Well, so definitely Holden. We'll say as this conversation has been going on, you've been percolating on something, and Morthos, you're kind of just in a bit of a quiet fugue for the last session. But the two of you can definitely pick up as you were talking about the contracts that you were working on. The name ANR does actually sound like a name you know of. And I mean, if you're rolling a 22, I got to give you some credit. So I'm going to post a link, and at your leisure, you can feel free to Control F and see where you might have heard that name before.
What?
Wow, look at all those people showing up at my document.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was familiar.
And that's even before you rolled the dice. That makes me feel good too, because that means that you read the document.
I like her cat mask.
Me too.
Can I kill her and take it?
I'm going to say you can try.
Yeah, you're not killing her. She's one of the masters, right?
Yep.
Please. My arm
let's-
will eat her. It'll be fine.
The other thing that I would love to get from you guys is just a quick who's going where check. Because I couldn't tell, even after listening and paying close attention, whether you guys were splitting up or if everyone was going to Central Command.
I am in favor of not splitting the party just because I think each of us has some valuable utility. Like, I don't want to begin the investigation process without having my face with me. I have a keen mind, but my mouth gets me in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And if we start including, then we just basically leave Rayun and the girl alone, and that's everybody. You know, Morthos is our heavy. Since we don't have Rayun to tank, I need Tyrus's insights, as this used to be his job. I need Mira here to do my talking, and I need to be there to do my thinking. So I think it's everybody.
Okay. All right. Well,
Properly thought out.
everybody nods at each other, agrees, and like slaps the table, getting ready to stand up. When the entire hall is flooded with the gentle sound of a small bell. And we're talking like not even like the sound of a bell that would put your neck, like the bumps on your neck back. I got distracted by Holden typing. But like we're talking like a gentle porcelain bell sound, but so pervasive that you all very clearly hear it over the din of the gathering hall, over your own conversation. And when that sound happens, like most of the people around stop talking and look around for a second. The guildmarm who brought you back kind of hastily kicks her way into the gathering hall in back, and she raises her hands up and says, "Don't worry, everyone. I'm going to handle this. Please stay seated for just a moment, and I will find out who that's for." And you see her almost immediately rush off in different direction, exiting not the way she came. She like there's a good like 20 to 30 seconds before she pokes her head back out, and like she looks down like she's looking at a menu or a list or something, and she says, I need I need Holden, Tyrus, Morthos, Mira, and Rayun. Could you please come with me to the dinner hall?
Meta question: Are you coming up with an in-world reason for where Rayun is tonight, or should we just tell him we don't know where Rayun is now?
I am perfectly okay with saying that he is chilling here.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And
Alright.
if he needs to be, or you guys can take it with you. I'm good either way. He can be a good bodyguard if you're taking Primrose out or keeping her here.
Let's have him join us in the dining room to see what's happening, and then he can stay guard with Primrose and Kozu after that.
Sounds good. Well, it's a fun turn of events that you are leaving the gathering hall, which feels like a tavern setting. Like this is where you would actually eat dinner, and being led through a couple hallways through sort of the back room, even away from where all of the lodging is, before, not for the first time, I think, being led into a very quiet, echoing stone room. Much like the last time, there is virtually nothing decorating this room except for a gentle blue glow and stone walls. And sitting towards the center of the room is a small dais with a stone bell. As you walk into the room, the stone bell, sitting on the dais still, lets out that same ringing sound as before, and you all hear it just as loud as when you were 6 rooms away. Carolyn, the guild marm, seeing that, says, I will be right outside if you need anything, but this is not my discussion, it's yours. And she sort of shoos you all into the dining room before closing the door soundly behind you. Again, thick stone door. No sound is getting out. The bell gives another gentle ring to everyone in the room.
Are we meant to answer that? I ask kind of everyone out loud.
Do it.
As someone who does not like to be the first person into a battle, I'm not going to approach it because I don't know what it is.
I'll approach it and lift it off the dais.
Sure.
Or at least examine it in my hands to see if it's a magical device, if it is a literal ringing telephone.
It is definitely a very magical device. Like, that's the kind of magic where you pick it up and it like puts the hairs on the back of your wrist on end.
Like it.
But it does just keep ringing at this point, regardless of how you are manipulating it. It doesn't even have, I don't know what the thing in the center of the bell is. I was going to call it the dangly bits, then I realized that might be inappropriate.
Bell uvula?
Yeah. It doesn't even have the uvula, but it's still making noise regardless. After you've picked it up and examined it for a second, it makes that ringing sound one more time, and out of your hand just zaps itself back to the dais, and that blue light coalesces and begins to take a familiar form of everybody's good friend, Administrator Racklin.
I'm going to step
And he-
forward. Racklin! Hello!
Well, Mira, good to see you. And Holden, well, I'm glad to see you're all doing all right. Looks like everybody's got all of their limbs intact, at least. Oh, well, I appreciate your all being here, and I'm glad I caught you. I was checking the records, and I saw you had checked in. I wanted to make sure that I caught up with you before you went off on your next adventures. So, I've seen that you've already put in a couple deliveries. How is everything going with gathering all of your materials?
Did our hearthsberries arrive safely, as well as the snapstring tendrils?
Well, I wasn't paying attention to the tendrils. Forgive me, that wasn't my request. But I did get the crate of Hearthland berries, and I made sure to get those off to Pelna right away.
Excellent.
She was very thankful and gave me a nice peck on the cheek.
The beak.
I was trying not to say that because, yeah. He is smiling a little bit. He says, but that was actually one of the things that reminded me to try and get a hold of you, and that's why I started looking at the records to try and see where you had gotten yourselves off to. So, it was good timing all around. I should ask if there's anything important that you feel you want to or need to report. I am, I guess, your supervising officer for all the supervising that I could do.
Well, there is actually one thing that we can report. We seem to have been left by the boat that you procured for us. We had to secure our own transportation here to Setir, but I don't know when and if they're going to come back and meet us here, since they left us in, where were we just at? Mirror Bay?
Mirror Bay.
Well, that's a problem.
It is a problem, so if you have a way to get in touch with them, that would be wonderful.
And that's frustrating as all heck. Granner knows he owes me way more than one favor. He should have been able to give me a couple weeks.
Yeah, about that.
What about that?
Not it.
You'll have to excuse my very literal, sarcastic friend.
All right, well, I will. That is a bit of a pickle. If I can be blunt, we've been having some real problems getting ships going to and from Satir that aren't just going to Nazma. In fact, most of the ships are taking the southerly route because that way we can pick up more supplies and reinforcements from Relim and even call on the way. It's, just hitting an extra city state, I guess. I'll see what I can do.
If you could please send us word if they're not able to return quickly, we would love for you to procure us another ship within the next 3 days or so.
I will definitely see what strings I can pull. I hope you'll forgive me. Like I said, ships are rough. I'm not necessarily happy to say this, being an administrator, but some of the administrative work has been getting a little challenging. We've been missing a little bit of ships. We've been missing a few ships here and there, and record keeping, a bit of funds here and there, but mostly just record keeping has been really tricky the last couple weeks. Let's see. Oh, but better news, something that I can liven things up a little bit, and best we can in the chamber like this. I did some string pulling on a different angle, and I was able to at least get you a bit of assistance. I wish I could give you more, but I hadn't heard from you in a bit. I didn't know what assistance you needed, but I managed to pull some weight and get you a requisitions credit. This is about all of the requisitions I have left, and that was a heck of a conversation, but you should know that you've got another credit waiting for you if you ever need anything from the guild. Now, let me tell you, I will say this much. I talked to the Scale Crashes, and that was half a disaster. I think you met them earlier on before you left, and, Asha, she nearly took my beak off for asking. But Geralt, Scarecrash does say hello, so I'm passing that message along. He actually has, like, you see his hand disappear and then come back, and there's a ledger in it. And he says, I hope you forgive me. I can't actually keep track of how many requisitions credits you have right now. It's something like 3 or 4, but I have... Like I said, getting records has been a challenge. Last I had heard, you were in Noka Bay. Then suddenly you showed up at Satir. That was good timing for me. So, let's see. What else do I have on the report? And he's flipping through that ledger-looking thing. He says, let's see. I also did check in with your culinarians when I was dropping off the Hearthland berries. And I got some updates. You'll want to keep this in mind. I think we have the last ingredients that the culinarians are going to need in order to finish their dishes. At least we know what they are. We don't have them. That's why we have you.
Are there more things that you'd like us to procure while we're out, specifically in this area if you don't have a lot of ships this way?
If you can find them, procuring them on your way back would definitely be easier than trying to return and then procure them before the feast. One of them is definitely going to be more straightforward than the other. He flips his papers towards the back and says, when I talked with Ranmar, he said that his research had concluded that the celestial stew doesn't actually say what protein you're supposed to use. So, based on our best estimates, and I'm quoting, Ranmar says that you should procure a protein that you as a group think properly embodies the concept of victory.
Do you have any recommendations?
If I'm being honest, I don't know what that means. I'm not even sure Ranmar knows what that means, but I would recommend that it be a protein that you hunted instead of bought, because I don't imagine there's much victory in purchasing meat. And based on Ranmar's approximations, you're going to need a decent amount of it, probably a good 15 pounds. So it probably need to be a decent-sized victory as well. Good luck with that one.
Well, I'm just saying, that would be truly victorious.
It would, yes. Racklin flips back and says, the other thing that they asked for is going to be a little trickier, but I've done some research of my own, and hopefully we can get that one figured out. Pelna has procured some Night Shrike talons, which is the primary ingredient in her Night Shrike trifle. But where she's having trouble is with Dreamscape whites. And when she said that as if I definitely should know what it was. I was too busy worrying about the idea of putting talons into food. But I did go in through the records, into the archives for a little bit. I talked to a couple of my record-keeping friends. We got some idea of what you're looking for. You're backing up just a little. You'll need to go into the dreamscape in order to find these eggs. I like that I said I was going to back up, and then I told you the last line first. You'll need to go into the dreamscape, because the dreamscape is where the dreamscape terns live and make their nests. They're sort of dream birds. So, in order to get into the dreamscape, you'll need to breathe in an incense of pox seeds while meditating, and based on my reading, that will take you to the dreamscape. Then you find the nest with the eggs. Probably just bring back the whole eggs. We'll separate the whites. And that should be it for that.
And where would we procure pox seeds from?
Well, that one I'm not certain of, but they're used a lot for medicinal purposes as well as for meditative purposes. So probably just about any well-stocked apothecary will have some.
Perfect.
And if you're in Satir, you could probably find them in just about any market. Definitely the Labyrinth.
All right, we will add these to our list, and you will let us know if you're able to contact the Emerald Dawn and or procure us alternative transportation.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, and the good news is that should be, according to your culinarians, the last things that you need for your dishes. So fingers crossed, everything goes the way we expect. You should have plenty of time to get back and plenty of time to properly prepare and maybe even make a test dish or two. I wouldn't mind tasting it myself before we present it to Telmar.
Do we have a date for the dinner that we need to have these items back by? Has one been set?
Well, realistically, we haven't set up any pre-feast competitions or anything like that. Well, the feast itself is the competition. So as long as we have a dish on feast day, and we're looking at about a month left, so you've got some time still.
Excellent.
Let's see. Oh, I did want to bring this up because this is, this is some of the big news on the island. A few days ago, a culinarian that we had believed had gone missing due to his, tendency to get really invested in things, was found dead. I don't know if you ever had a chance to meet with culinarian Razmi, but look, the fact that nobody liked him.
He was lost in the sewers for a while, wasn't he?
He was lost in the sewers, and we found him. Well, someone found him.
Didn't we deal with Razmi already? Sorry.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Not that I know of, anyway.
We had a quest, like if we found him to return him, but we
No,
never
we
did. And...
we did find out that he was dead.
Right.
I'd
with
have to
nothing
go
that
back
we
through
did.
my notes.
Okay. I just remember hearing the name before. My bad.
Sure. No, that's fine. Let's all be on the same page while I'm giving out information.
Sorry to derail.
No, that's important. Please feel free to ask questions. He says, well, it was I have a little bit more of a detail, and the news has been pretty rough. Most of the Culinarians Guild has gotten a little defensive. We've had to recall what few hunters we've got left to act as security detail, mostly for the council and for the envoys of Telemar, and one or two mercenaries around to protect some of the culinarians that are sponsoring people for the God's Feast. Turns out that is still a pretty important thing for us, even if most of our efforts are in Nazma right now. But I'm telling you this a little bit so that you know that we're all safe over here, except for Razmi, and much more to tell you to be careful. This was, if I'm being honest, I just read the report, and it was a brutal affair.
Where was he when it happened? Was he by any chance here in Satir?
He was not. He was in his restaurant, theoretically. Well, no, he wasn't in his restaurant. I'm sorry, he was behind his restaurant. Sort of a back alley, having a smoke of his pipe, sort of thing. But it was It was, I think, more blood than you would expect in such a small man, and it looks like it almost caught the building on fire. So
Goodness.
it was grisly enough that I won't describe it anymore, but that you should be on guard just in case, or at the very least know about it for when you come back.
Understood. Thank you for letting us know.
So, I think that's everything I have to report. Let's see. We've got the requisitions credits, the Dreamscape Whites, the protein, Rasmi. If there's anything that you want to let me know about, or that I can report to your culinarians, that's great. If not, I'm happy to let you get back to whatever your adventures take you to.
Did we?
Tell Ranmar that we're almost done repairing the combustion pot.
I was gonna say, did we notify him that it was busted? I don't know if we shared that information. I don't remember.
Nope.
Excellent. Would you
No need to mention
please
that.
pass along a message that we were able to find the combustion pot. However, it's not in working order, and we are
Excuse me.
working on getting that fixed.
He pulls out a quill almost as you start talking and scribbles some notes. Combustion pot being repaired. Sounds like you have it under control.
Yes, we do.
All right, have under control. I'll draw a little heart there so he doesn't get mad. All right. Anything else, or I will stop borrowing Culinarian Guild time.
No, I think that's it for now. We look forward to speaking with you when you have an update about the ships.
He nods, puts away his ledger, and well, in that case, thank you all for your service, and I look forward to hearing your next report. He takes a step back, and the blue energy dissipates and goes back to in just a nice, pleasant glow of the room.
Nice.
Mhm.
Okay, well, we knew that we wanted to go to the labyrinth anyway, so we can head there and see about getting the pox seeds. But we were thinking about heading out to go report in and see if we could take a look at the other sites of the murders. So shall we leave Rayun here for now to watch over the youngins and we can venture out?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm on board.
I agree.
All right. Well, the four of you, well, the five of you exit the room, and Carolyn is happy to bring you all back to the gathering hall. Rayun, apparently deciding that he has important laundry to tend to, agrees to stay behind, watch over the youngins, and speaking of people in your party, Talik, is he coming with you, or is he staying behind?
I don't think Talik came with us to the Culinarian Guild. I thought he was just out trying to sell his services. I don't know if he was with Holden.
You know what? Actually, I think you're right. So you currently do not have Talik.
Yeah, we
That
just
answers the
have
question.
Primrose and Kozu.
Wonderful. Well, and now you don't even have them. Night on the town, no kids. How wonderful. So, yeah, you can get out of the Culinarians Guild, no problem. First step was the Labyrinth or High Central Command?
I vote high command. What do you guys think?
I just like the sound of high command, so
I
let's
think
do
it's
high
Central
command.
Command. I may have.
Central High
Uh,
Command.
I did actually say both because I forgot what I'd written because I was on the wrong screen. So I'm going to put us on the right screen, and I'm going to stick with Central Command because I think it sounds cooler, but they both sound very cool. All right. So, Central Command, not actually that far away from you guys. It is an incredibly busy precinct. Like we talked before when Tyrus was saying, like, I need to figure out what local precinct is, and I was like, no, actually, you're really close to Central Command. Let's do that instead. But the magnitude of the number of people walking in and out of here, I think, really needs to be addressed. You've seen a ton of people all over Satir in a constant flow of movement, just bodies going in every direction at any given time. But there's definitely a gathering point here of there are a lot of people going in and out specifically to Central Command. A decent number of people in guard uniforms, but also just a lot of civvies. So, positive means it's real easy to get in. Front doors are wide open. And inside, this feels like a good mix of a precinct and a military barracks. Like, there are guardsmen all over the place, not even guarding, just this is where they hang out or get ready to work. There are doors flanking both sides, some of which look to be extremely damaged. And just a wall of desks on the far side that have queues and guardsmen who are handling the issues of the public. And, a decent number of waiting room chairs because that's pleasant. Maybe a couple potted plants. What's your play here?
To have Tyrus just make a formal request on the grounds that he was once a member of the Guard and that we are acting under the auspice of Christel.
All right. Well, it sounds like you guys are going to be waiting in line for a few minutes.
But
And
I hate
that's okay.
waiting in line.
Well, then don't go to Disneyland.
Always buy the fast pass.
Any theme park. Theme park.
Yeah.
Theme park. God, I can't talk.
I mean, Dyrus, if you want to bust through the line, you just say the word, and we'll figure out how to make that happen. But, there's a lot of people that have a lot of complaining to do, and who else are you going to complain to except the Guard?
I want to gaslight Morthos into busting through the line.
He is an absolute unit, I've heard.
I just want to stand there and be like, yeah, well, there's no way for us to get closer. We got to sit here for the next 15 hours, waiting in line. Just keep going at it until he decides to just bust through the line to get to the front. Can it be like a intimidation check or like a persuasion check?
By all means.
What would you
All
prefer?
right. Intimidation
persuasion.
for me, personally.
Persuasion? Okay.
Persuasion?
I mean, you're trying to persuade Morthos to do it.
Oh, he's trying to persuade me to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or you can just agree to make him to barge forward.
I'll just agree to see if we can try.
All right. But I like this world where he buttered you up of hey, no, seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Would you mind please saving me from this line, oh mighty Morthos?
That's my intimidation check as I bust out my arm.
Everybody, move!
Yeah, that.
Damn.
I mean, I'm definitely not going to penalize you with a roll like that. It is very brave of you to brandish a weapon in a police station.
It's not a weapon. It's my body.
That's true. And that's a very good argument to keep you out of trouble. And also to get a lot of people in line to kindly get the fudge out of the way. Walking through the gap that's being created for you, much like Nemesis in Resident Evil 3, with your giant, grotesque one arm kind of leading the way. You make your way to the front of the line very quickly. Not a lot of people in the mood to mess with that crap.
I wink at Tyus. Told you it'd work.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm gonna go up to the counter and just make a formal request to either speak with the lieutenant or commander, or one of her assistants to get more information on this case we'll be helping with.
For the sake of not being a bastard GM, you get to the front of the line and realize it is the same guardsman that was helping you at the front desk earlier.
Fantastic.
And so when you make the request, initially, he's looking down at his documents. Yeah, of course you want to see the commander. And then he looks up and sees you and says, "Oh! Ooh, feeling brave, huh? Okay, well, you know what? I will let her know that you're here and say a little prayer."
I'd go ahead and open some doors for her.
He rushes off with quite a bit of haste. And maybe hearing what you had to say, and maybe just not wanting to break another door today, you see him pop out first a couple of minutes later and hold the door open for Commander Christale. For those that haven't looked at the other half of that page that I linked to you, that was really convenient in hindsight. You were looking at an imposing, like probably about 7 and change feet tall dragonborn woman, clad head to toe in plate, with a sword that is maybe actually the sort of sword that could just kill a god, like outright. Like maybe that's your answer to Telemar instead of this whole feast thing, is just have her get really pissed off. Unlike the previous times, she appears to have enough composure that no furniture is being destroyed, but she marches up to, at least she thinks, the two of you with a gravitas that makes most of this giant, very busy precinct full of civvies and bored guardsmen get really quiet for a minute. When she gets close to the four of you, you see her eyes darting between the four of you real fast before saying, "We're missing one. But that's fine. Let's get out of the show." And she turns and walks back through the door she came.
We're gonna follow her.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
She leads you through a couple halls and takes you to what could be best described as a meeting room. There's just, there's sometimes you just need a good room with some chairs in it so that people can talk to each other. She sits down on one side of the table that's in this room, gestures to a bunch of chairs on the other side of the table, and says, "That was awfully quick for a report. I imagine you've got something good for me, and it better not be just a bloody butt."
I don't know what to tell her.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Well, you guys maybe should have planned this before kicking down the door. I guess that's the story of like every D&D group, though. Maybe you should have planned before you kicked this door down.
What is it that you
Even
actually want?
less
Well-
than a bloody butt. We need something from you.
Wow, really starting off strong there. Look, you're helping. I can at least give you some courtesy.
We
What can
appreciate
I
it.
do for you?
We'd love to see the related case files. We want to examine the instances, locations, and evidence of the previous grisly murders. With fresh eyes on the case, we might see something that's gone unseen before. I'm excellent at seeing patterns. We might be able to help you.
As you say that, her brow does raise a little bit. Well, at least it's good to see that you're taking this seriously. Maybe we'll actually get some use out of you. Thought I saw something there. All right. Yeah, you can take a look at the records. I will... No, I don't want him to leave this building. Follow me again.
I accept.
She leads you down a couple more hallways into a room that is littered with scrolls and books. And there are even a couple guardsmen who are tending to these. They stand at attention so fast that one of them almost gives themselves whiplash. But she points to the other one, tiny little mousy girl, says, "This is Selene. She's in charge of the records, and if there's anything that you need, she will probably be able to point you to it." She turns and barks out, "Selene! You are to give this group anything that they need regarding the Scorch and Slashes." And you can there's like an extra sigh as she finishes saying that, for saying, "Now, is there anything else that you need?"
Captain, my name is Mira. Thank you for meeting with us. I understand that Tyrus shared with you the reason why we ended up at the location of the murders to begin with, and I was wondering if there's any similarity or any common factor between that business and the other locations that have been hit. We still have the daughter in our care, and we're not sure if we should worry about her safety.
You are holding the daughter in your care. I don't see her, so you must have stashed her away somewhere safe. Okay. Well, civilian, I respect your honesty. Okay. Here's what I can think of that might be helpful to you, and I'm sure Selene will be happy to give you the rest of the data. We believe this to be mostly a financial crime. It seems to be targeting primarily people with money. It's not robberies, but it's record keepers, financiers, the sort of person that has too much gold on their body for one person. But I do remember guardsman here, and she points to Holden, asking if this was a robbery sort of crime, and the answer is no. It looks like, if anything, they're targeting places with more records than coin on hand. Think bankers and stuff. Not necessarily the sort of people that have coin to give you, but are happy to put you into debt.
Since we're openly discussing things without the veil of half truths and deception, have you looked into at all the death of Rasme. What's his first name?
Antonio.
Antonio Rasme.
Who the hell is that?
He's a celebrity chef.
I can't
Bad
express
Cooper
to you how
reality.
little time I have for that sort of thing. Is there a
I bring it
reason?
up only because the matter of his death seems like it might be related. He was viciously murdered, and the restaurant behind which this brutality occurred was almost burnt to the ground.
Doesn't
Seems
sound familiar. I haven't had any restaurants that have been attacked. Where was this?
it occurs to me now that I don't know where Antonio Rasme's restaurant is.
His restaurant is in. Hold on. Hold on. Porta Maria.
I mean,
If his
that's where
restaurant is where
I was gonna say,
everyone else is.
that's where we met him, but I don't
Mhm.
know if that's where his restaurant is.
That's where we picked up the
Uh,
quest.
Yep.
Oh, that makes sense.
The original
Okay.
plan was that you were had the opportunity to meet him at his restaurant.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, in Porta Maria.
She throws up one hand and says, "Listen, soldier, I don't have the time to go pretty much anywhere except Central Command, my home, and the tavern. And I only do that once or twice a week. I don't even have time to drink."
That's fair enough. That's why you've engaged our services. I can connect threads for you. I'll do your research.
Well, I appreciate your service. Like I
Before
said,
she,
if there's anything else I can do to help.
perhaps maybe, we would prefer to not have to wait in lines lengthy as the one out front ever again. And if we're going to be interacting with your guardsmen across the city, it would be lovely if we had some token of your authority that we might brandish to avoid misunderstandings.
She just like snaps at not Selene, but the other guard, the one that gave themselves whiplash. And he once again, as if he had started to slouch, shoots back up to attention. She says, "You, give him your badge." And he like kind of clutches his chest. There's a red sash that's part of the guard uniform. You've been seeing a lot of them, and holding that sash in place is a giant Satiri crest. He puts his hand over it like he's guarding his heart. And she says, "It'll grow back. Give it to him." And you see him kind of like sad take off the red sash and the crest, like dejectedly walk to you and hand it to you. And then he walks back to his post and returns to attention, but that snap isn't quite there anymore.
I'll do my best to return it to you in the same condition.
That should do you for now.
Thank you. I'm gonna shine it on my shirt sleeve and then pin it on my jacket.
Bet it'll feel nice wearing the red again. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have business to attend to.
One last question, if you will indulge me.
She has already started to walk away, but she turns back to face you. "Please."
Is it true that you once wielded Scream Scale, slashing through the portcullis gate chain to seal someone evading arrest within the city walls? Everyone in the guard talks about it.
The only thing untrue about that story is that I cut the chain to stop him. If I wanted to stop him, I had to cut through him. I did it to send the message. And she walks right out the door.
Nice.
The now slightly less impressively dressed guardsman, once the coast is clear, excuses himself, and you are left with the previously mentioned Selene, who is probably like, well, I was going to say like about 3'5", like it was a diminutive thing, but with her full uniform on, yeah, you can't tell what race she is. She could be average height. But she is still standing at attention, and as the guard and the commander leave, she's, anything I can do for you?
Just those reports and perhaps some coffee.
She gives a bit of a chuckle while she starts digging through books and scrolls. It doesn't seem like you're getting that coffee, but
You're not, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
it seems like maybe she was already plotting this from the moment she realized what the commander was looking for, but within a couple minutes, she has several large tomes and a pile of reports.
I'll ask her if she's ever read them.
She shakes her head and says, "No, sir. I just do filing."
Fair enough.
Can we take them back to the empty room that we originally met the commander in, so that we have some space to sit around the table and open everything up?
When you initially start asking, you hear her give a squeak like someone has slowly closed a mouse trap on her toe. But as you finish, just please bring it back. I have to refile everything, and I don't want to be running around town looking for them.
We promise not to leave the premises with them.
If the commander trusts you, I do too. So go ahead, take what you need. So we can fast forward you to you now have your own meeting room, a ton of records. I'm going to say the fantasy version of a whiteboard, which we'll call like a cork board. Cork exists.
Woo!
And some form of push pin. That probably exists too. So you have pretty much everything I could think of you might need.
Step 1, read it all.
Hooray! Police reports. We're going to boil this down to a couple checks because I don't want to spend 6 hours reading you stuff.
I am just delighted to hear that you don't have like a gig worth of documents and fake scanned police reports that we have to go through and look for the facts ourselves.
Let's be real. You guys have known me long enough that I would absolutely make those documents.
I know.
But there is no earthly way that I could make a gig's worth of police reports fun and horny enough to give to you guys.
I feel like that would be the best and the worst session of D&D ever.
To
Honestly?
actually have to do the research to figure out what's there.
I would talk about it forever, but I would hate every second of it.
I mean, the thing is, now that you say that, I can't guarantee that somewhere down the line in
We
maybe
won't do
this
that.
or another campaign, I might just be like, all right, yeah, here's an entire Google Drive folder. I'll see you next week.
I love it. Give us
I
homework.
don't think I could do it.
Like X is
God.
just staying silent.
Oh, I've been muted this whole time? God damn it.
Aw.
Nice.
No, I've literally been talking.
Ow.
Dang.
It's okay. I'm not cool enough.
Well,
we
hey,
didn't
Do you want
you're
to
back.
rewind 15 minutes? And
And I was
start over?
basically gonna say you 100% can make it horny enough.
Man, yeah, it'd be a real challenge after the first,
Nah,
like, 5 or 6 naked, drunken, disorderly ones.
You could do it. I have full faith in you.
I mean, honestly, if you run out of ideas, you just pull up Florida Man headlines. There you go.
I mean, he ain't wrong. I
All
mean,
right. What are we rolling?
I'm going to have you guys roll
Fantastic.
investigation checks.
Great.
And here's how I'm going to handle this. Everybody that rolls a successful investigation check, and I know the TN in my head, gets to ask me one question. And in addition, everybody that beats the TN by 5 or more gets to ask me a second question.
Mm.
and the questions are about the murders.
Yep.
Does
Okay.
my passive investigation of 20 help here?
Yes, but I'm still going to make you roll a dice because we play games so we can roll dice.
That's my second
Wow.
crit fail tonight.
I didn't roll
Fantastic.
a 1.
It's because I'm doing it.
Oh man, I've had 2 sessions in a row with crap rolls. So
I feel like there should be a rule where the result of the die can't be lower than your modifier.
Man. Okay.
So Tyrus spills coffee on his stack of papers.
You know what? Yeah.
Sweet, I had coffee.
I like that idea that Tyrus got so bored and he's been to Central Command that you guys just sent him to go get coffee. Like, dude, would you stop drawing monsters on the whiteboard? Just, dude, like, get us something to drink. And
I'm
if you
not
find,
like I
Cheetos-
I didn't have a desk job when I was in the guard. I was actively on patrol. This is not my expertise.
I like it. I like it. It's
Mhm,
good
mhm.
role playing. Okay, so he
Look,
goes
some
out
people
for a
just aren't
coffee
built for
run.
this sort of thing. I get it. So everyone else gets to ask a question, and then Mira and Holden, because you have the passive, which I'm going to give you some extra credit for. You two will both get 2 questions as well, or get 1 extra question. I think that made sense. You guys have 5 questions total.
All right.
You can probably even pool them. You can talk to each other.
Yeah.
Mm.
How do you guys want to do this? Do you want to?
What kind of coffee does High Command have?
4 questions left.
Hey, you didn't get a question.
Yeah, well,
Well,
I'm in the cafeteria now, and that's my question to the barista because I'm not anywhere near this investigation.
What type of questions do you want to ask? Like the first one that comes to mind for me, which I have 2 questions. DM, this is not me asking the question. This is me talking to my team.
Well, here, how about this? I'm going to call a 5-minute break here.
Okay.
And then also, when you get back, feel free to like actually use your break to use the potty and grab drinks and stuff. Figure out why your cat's running around the room like an idiot. But then when we get back, as people get back, feel free to just start talking about this and let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
I just also want to make sure that we get a 5-minute break because I feel like I forget that sometimes.
I'm
Perfect.
gonna go take my 5-minute break.
Sounds
BRB.
good.
Taking a
See you in a minute,
break.
guys.
I hope that was not a serious question.
I couldn't tell.
I mean, I was honestly staring at it and I was like, which one's either new? And then it was just a bunch of jumbled words, and I realized that some of them do have new next to it.
Gosh dang
God,
it. Boone.
I love it. Every bit of it.
Ooh, there's a beam rifle.
So now, in addition to talking about questions and stuff, also be sure to read all of those.
You don't tell me what to do.
Before we get into the I want to burn our interrogation currency, um, can I ask you questions about what we already know common knowledge wise?
Sure. Unless you're asking me to just recite everything you know, because I'm going to be honest,
No, I have
I don't know
I
that.
think 2 specific questions.
I don't know.
Does Holden the character, is he privy to the information that that fire is a component? Like, do we know that all of the crime scenes? It was mentioned at one point previous to today's session that like there was a torching involved. There was a a pyromantic angle,
Yeah.
but I don't remember if that was specific to just one instance or if that's been in everything.
At this point, you have seen that information twice, or you've received that information twice. Once at the Minra HQ, and then also when Racklin mentioned it.
Okay.
And that's giving the small amount of credit that I'm pretty sure you have pieced together that the Razmi murder is connected.
Yeah.
I believe in you.
Okay. I think anything else would be cheating and should probably cost me one of my actual questions. So
Sure. But yes, that is information that you already have. There were scorch marks at both locations.
Man, I feel bad for the old Razzer.
That dude had a terrible existence in my campaign.
He really did. You really didn't give him much of a chance.
Hey, that's not true. Hold on. You didn't give him a chance.
No, you.
Because I had whole scenes dedicated to this guy, and you were the ones that were like, nah, we don't need to ask him or anything.
I don't know. Maybe, I mean, if it was super important, you'd have kept him alive.
I mean, he was at one point.
Yeah.
You guys decided to
But
go
then he
another way.
wasn't. So, just saying.
I'm just saying, this is
Quid pro
your
quo.
fault. I have whole NPCs that I haven't been able to introduce from session 1 because you guys didn't go talk to this guy. Do you know how much I wanted you guys to go talk to this guy?
Can you give us a hint on one of the names of the NPCs?
Hold on, let me dig through my NPC
Hopefully
list.
it's Stubby Longbottom.
I guess it's better than long stubby bottom.
Yeah.
Is one of them named after like
AKA
a stew?
the Stubster.
Like stew brisket or something like that?
Nope. I can tell you right now because I have both of their character profiles archived.
It'd be celebrity chef puns. Go.
Nope. The characters are Tk and Chkel.
Is that what you said? Does that have like an exclamation mark in the name?
No, it's apostrophe.
Yeah, the
It's
full spelling
T apostrophe
is T.
CK.
No, just T apostrophe K.
Oh, that's close.
And the other one is CH apostrophe KELL. Kel. But now we'll never know.
Oh, we'll know.
We'll know them in the next campaign.
Yeah, or maybe I'll just bring it back. I don't care. You'll all forget in a couple days.
I mean, I've relatively already forgot now.
How do you want us to phrase the questions to you?
I trust you guys to be reasonable and responsible and not like try and game the system.
Really?
And much in the same way that I trust you guys to be reasonable and responsible to not game the characters and like combats and stuff, like be hyper cheese. So if you start being like, well, can you tell us the name of the person and their address and their whereabouts? I may start getting a little cagey with your answers. But otherwise, if you're being fair, I will be as transparent as I can.
And how many questions do we have?
Well, now you have 4 because of the coffee. That's not true.
I mean, I would totally punish us for the coffee question because he's an idiot.
Tempting. But yes, you have 5 questions.
I have a question to prompt the group. Should we ask about if there's any like shit? I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
It's fine. This is open time. Like, even if you're on a coffee run, feel free to discuss as a group of 4, like what kind of questions you want to ask.
So I think, just spitballing here with the team, one of the only links we know for sure already exists without having to burn a question on it is the pyro angle. That there's, well, at least in the 2 that we know about, there's let's try to burn the evidence, either as a message to people that we hate things so much we burn them afterwards, or perhaps as a way to potentially destroy evidence or their method of entrance or egress. So I'm tempted to say my first question would be, are these like mundane, man-made fires? Are they magical fires? Is there any kind of evidence to support one or the other? And are they all started the same way? What do you guys think of a question like that to get us started?
I was definitely thinking something along those lines, that we should ask if there was any evidence of magic being used in the attacks or in the aftermath of the attacks. So I like the way you phrased it better, I think.
All right, in the
Specifically
interest of
fire.
moving it forward, then I'm going to use one of my questions to ask that exact question.
I'll tell you what, because there were like 5 questions that came up while you were saying that, and I started to answer all 5 of them. Let's go with, when you have a question, if you wouldn't mind just saying, I have a question.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are the fires in the, well, first of all, are there fires? And I'm getting a weird echo. Does anybody else hear that?
I do hear
Yes.
that.
Yes, I hear that.
Okay. Megan's gonna mute and see if it's her. Seems like it is. Are there fires at all 5 crime scenes? If that is the case, I guess regardless of whether that's true or not, are the fires man-made or are they magically produced? And is there any evidence to suggest that they are either, regardless of their method of creation, being performed in an identical fashion? Like, if it is an accelerant being used and it's the same accelerant, and if it's not, is it the same magical spell being used?
Okay.
Summarized as the fire question.
Yep. Okay. For the sake of being generous, I'm going to use that as one question, and I'm just going to be a little bit vague because there's a little bit you already know there. You already knew, and you can confirm that fire existed at just about all of these. There is one that did not have some fiery evidence, but for the most part, it looks like, yes, all of them did have fire. As to the nature of it, I think is a good way to summarize some of that without being unduly cruel. It definitely appears to be some sort of magical blast. This was not done with oil. You could tell because it looks like it radiates outwards and isn't like in a specific pool like area. And you guys have just seen some magic before. You know what magic looks like. There are even a couple of the scenes where you can see silhouettes of a victim perhaps, or some shelving or something that is blocking a part of that. You could see like outlines on the other side where there's less damage. So we'll go with
not using one of my questions for the interrogation, but just asking Selene, does the course of normal investigation include an arcane analysis? Did anyone detect magic and or decipher schools of magic from these crime scenes?
Selene, who I will say has been darting back and forth to help, but also, has an archive to keep up for herself. When you catch her with that question, it's standard operating procedure. We have battle mages on hand, half because these things are dangerous. So if there was something arcane, they might have seen it. So probably, I would say probably.
Re-looking at the report, is there any actual notation of the detection of magic and or school of magic?
No, you don't see anything like that. It looks like they mostly just marked it down, especially in some of the early ones, as like, yep, fire, explosion.
Yeah, I know it's like not an uncommon thing in the world, but I'll make a note to myself that I want to confirm like my belief that yes, it's probably evocation magic, but I'd like to just pin that down.
Mm-hmm.
Rule out the possibility of some kind of grand illusion.
Like it. I like it.
All right, 4 questions to go.
Should we ask about if there's any clients linking all of the fires together, like a suspect that they might have come across him with that?
I was just trying to kind of think about how to phrase that as a question, because I'm also curious about similarities in the items that were either left untouched or undamaged, if we can find any common threads.
How about melding the two ideas into something like looking at those who have been killed and things that have been damaged or destroyed beyond repair? Is there any one person who would gain from all of those people being dead or all of those storehouses and supplies being destroyed?
Like, for instance, do they have like maybe like an like a common insurance guy or a common investor or something like that?
Yeah, do they all owe money to one person?
Or a common client, if
Yeah.
they are responsible for putting people in debt.
Not really. Also, you didn't use the code word. We'll get to that.
Right. We were still discussing.
Okay.
So I don't hate that if someone wants to use that as their question.
Yeah, I'll use it as one of mine since I have 2.
Cool. You have to say the word.
I have a question.
Please?
Are there any, from what we can see through all of this documentation, are there any common threads, common individuals that were either clients or did business with or were part owner of or were landlords to or had other dealings with these businesses that are common links between each of the scenes?
Let me tell you, when I write this quick to get all these notes down, my handwriting goes to garbage. And it turns out my answer has not changed much. Not really. In fact, it looks like for the most part there is a theme that Chris Tale kind of mentioned before, that these were mostly attacking financial institution type places or infrastructure-y places. But you sift through these records pretty intently, and it doesn't look like there's any sort of unifying client for all of them. There's a decent amount of connection to, besides banking, shipping. But other than that, it's hard to nail down like any one person or like any client. and you even go through like landlords, it doesn't look like there's a connection there.
Okay, so the only connection is that we know of is shipping. So let me ask the group, do we want to look further into the types of products that they were shipping and the frequency and the locations that they ship to and see if there's any insights to be gathered there, or are we thinking we don't want to waste a question on that?
I mean, I think probably where they were shipping to and where they've receiving from. I mean, if I'm going to commit a crime, I'm going to want to know I'm either getting something on the boat before it goes, or I want to get something as soon as it gets here. If you're gonna commit that crime.
So having information about recent shipping activities could be helpful.
That would be very helpful, yes.
All right. I have another question.
Please.
What can you tell us about the recent shipping activities and receiving activities of each of the locations?
Most of the, you know what? I'm not gonna say most. I think generally all of them, you can trace some sort of link to a couple key shipping channels, either because they're financing operations or because they themselves are taking the operations. And the route seems to be pretty straightforward. It's straightforward enough that I might actually close this window, and I'm going to just bring us back to Plenty for a second and show you what this route looks like.
I found the Emerald Dawn.
Yeah, we're gonna just ignore that for a second. I don't even know what area. You are going away.
You ruin everything.
Let's see. So you conveniently you can see Satir and you can see Porta Maria.
Mm-hmm.
We did it. And this is I'm kind of jury rigging this because I couldn't plan in advance what questions you were going to ask. Let's see if this works. Most of the routes that you were seeing were some variation of Satir. Oh, am I really drawing in pink? That sucks.
I don't
Mostly
see
because
it
it's just hard
drawing
to
at
see.
all.
Well, let's see. I'm gonna finish drawing this line
Oh, okay.
and see if it populates when I release my mouse. I'm trying to be as gentle as I can, and I don't even know why. Do you see anything appearing?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That's a line.
Perfect. We did it.
Beautiful pink.
That is roughly the course that they are taking. It's a pretty straight shot course. It's hitting a couple key places. Like it will stop at, let's not draw anymore. It'll stop here at Mirror Bay, and it may stop here at Quasi Temple. But other than that, it looks to be mostly directly connected between Satir and Porta Maria.
Did you know that you can change the color assigned to your character by primary mouse button clicking on the color square tile next to your name?
Well, that's neat. I wonder if it changes any of my lines posthumously. Nope.
I doubt it.
Dang. I hope I can delete that line, though.
You can. You just select it and remove it.
Cool. I will definitely do that when we're done talking about it. But this is, if you are looking for a connection of the transactions that are going on between these people, you have done it. You have found a connection.
It's also very suspiciously not unlike our path.
That's true. I mean, you guys went up here, and over here. But, same rough idea.
If someone had, stowed cargo on one of us. Interesting.
With your blessing, I'm going to bring you back to Satir real quick.
So that does loop, and I was going to ask how Gordon Ramsay was going to be involved if it was shipping based, but since he was likely receiving shipped materials and lived in Porta Maria, that helps, in my mind, add that connective link, so at least everything makes sort of sense. But we still don't know a lot. So I don't want to be that guy. Is there value in asking a question like, looking at the whatever available documentation we have for each of the victims that were in shipping and receiving? Is there any like significant financial incongruities there? Or a question like that to determine whether or not these businesses were all like legit operations, or complete fronts for some other larger shadow organization we have yet to fully comprehend, or at the very least it'll tell us whether or not some people were in significant debt.
I think that's fair.
Okay, I'll use my second question. I have a question.
What's up?
Do the financial records for the victims or the associated victims enterprises show like a long history of financial stability and solvency? Are these well established businesses, or are any of them brand new, do not have financial data that suggests they have been operating legitimately, and or are any of them in significant debt? Just what do the books look like? Are they healthy, cooked, fake?
Well, the most recent example, there isn't even really great records of it. You just have it in your brains. Minra Shipping has been around for a good long while. Like Primrose probably didn't mention that because she's too busy freaking out, but you could see like this was a pretty well established office. And most of what you're looking at this is a lot of other companies that have been in business for a good long time. If they were in debt, that would probably have been a thing that they wouldn't have told people, but there's no evidence that you have here to say that any of them were in any sort of distress. It is also worth pointing out, because this will tie into your question, and I think is just helpful. There are also just a couple like solo murders tied in with all of these, and they appear to have done a similar analysis with these. And we're talking like these are bankers and record keepers themselves. These people also look like their financials were doing okay.
All right. Well, they don't owe anybody money, and there seems to be very little financial motive here. As we eliminate one more thing that we definitely don't know.
Are they potentially being too good at their jobs and putting someone else out of business? And maybe that person's going around hiring a gang to destroy these places? Is that something worth asking, or no?
We have one or two questions left. I think only one.
One, yeah.
I guess the question is, should we keep going with like knock everything out of this financial path with our last question, or should we just go from a completely different angle and ask a question about something else?
I think it would be a good idea to pivot because we've gone pretty far down the money rabbit hole, and that doesn't seem to be getting us a lot of answers. So, I mean, the typically in a string of crimes, the first one has quite a bit of significance, and it might be worth looking at when the crimes occurred to see if there's any kind of pattern to the frequency, or to see if we need to look, like if there's big gaps of time, maybe that first business is one that we need to go to personally and look more into kind of their local reputation, as it were, and see if there's something that we can learn from them, because obviously something triggered this first attack.
I don't even think I need to charge you a question for this. You can look at the dates. These have all been happening within the last probably 6 weeks or so. And yes, there appears to be a rhythm that a couple of them will happen and then there's a few days off, and then a couple of them will happen and then there's a few days off. And that pattern is actually pretty consistent.
Does any of the evidence that we have access to, or any of the data we have access to, include like ship manifests or logs, so that we could ask a question to the effect of, do these starts and stops of crime sprees coincide with like a certain ship arriving in port?
You definitely have access to shipping information, at least from the companies that have all of the shipping, like all of the ship manifests.
Gang, is there any value in coming up with a question, something like, is there any one, or is there any ship that coincides with the beginning of every single crime?
Well, if they're happening pretty quickly in succession and then there's a break, like, are they happening on the same day, or are they happening within days of each other?
Within a day or two.
Because if it's tied to a ship, then I don't know that there would be a few days.
And actually, I guess my question doesn't help, because they've happened in more than one location, so that doesn't, there's not enough metadata there to parse, I don't think.
So, Foob, what are you thinking for your, out of left field question that gets us off of the shipping and financial questions?
I was going to ask if there are any known gangs or groups that either worship fire or use a lot of fire memorabilia in their get up. It might be like a call sign with the fire.
That would be more of a general satir question and less specific to the documents that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Are we getting charged for those questions? Zell?
Give me just a second.
Take two. Okay.
I'm working on something. I might be important.
Okay, because I have another question that's more like for the guard that the documents wouldn't necessarily tell us.
Man, I wish I could see your character sheets faster. I'm so bad at navigating that menu. All right, now that I've finished typing, sorry, really bad at typing and processing information. Could you summarize that ask in a way that I can determine whether or not I'm going to charge you a question for it? Sometimes I can tell I'm an attorney.
Go ahead, Foob.
Basically, I was going to see if we had any general knowledge about any type of gang or group of like locals who use fire memorabilia or fire like as an insignia of any sort. Is that something we would know, or would that use up more questions?
That will not cost you a question. Feel free to make a.
I messed up and hit save, and not.
I saw that.
Yeah. I'm a dumb.
It's fine, X. I'll get to you in a second. Anybody, if you would like, feel free to make a religion check if you're looking for like cults and stuff, or an investigation. We'll say if you just want to know about like local gang activity. Investigation isn't even really great, but there's not a like local gang activity skill. Well, I was gonna make Tyrus roll with advantage because he was on the guard for so long, but
I did it.
okay,
Hey!
fine, whatever.
2 crit fails equals a crit success.
I only
Yeah.
have a +1 in both of those, so I'm not even sure I want to roll.
Well, I probably won't punish you.
You won't make me
I like
drink
how he says
coffee again.
probably.
Probably.
Okay. We'll go with you, Foob, because it's hard to say no to that. No, not really. Like, there's no like pyromaniac gangs that are roaming around the street. And one of the biggest ways that you can confirm that is almost every building in the city is built out of stone. So there's
fair.
not a lot of fire going on. Also, you guys are in like almost desert lands, so not even a lot of fires in general, because we just don't need them. I'm going to type one more thing, but feel free to keep talking amongst yourselves.
Holden did roll for religion. If you can give us some information about cults.
I will add that there are no cults that you're aware of that worship fire like that, but you can be darn sure that there is someone, like there's at least one shrine at the Temple of 1,000 Gods that is dedicated to some sort of fire god.
Sounds like the fire pass led nowhere for us guys.
But everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
It's true.
So, something jogged my memory, and I'm just curious. I know that Nazma was destroyed, but they had that little kind of underground group that was working against the Welker government.
The Petrichor, yeah.
Yep. So, is there, like, did they branch out beyond Nazma? Because it seems like the Petrichor might have some knowledge of vigilante activity taking place, especially if it's targeting establishments. But I don't know if that exists outside of Nazma and if that would have made its way to Satir.
They have mostly contained themselves to Nazma because they had a very expressed goal, which is get Welker out of power. Which, I mean, I guess kind of mission accomplished. But, not in a way they probably wanted.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Yeah.
And by my memory, they weren't necessarily like murderous. They were more inconvenient.
Yeah. There was definitely one of the named Petrichor that was definitely murderous. I forget their name, and I closed that sheet. Gosh dang it. But it's not actually important.
And was there any kind of known fringe groups in Satir? I'll look at the document.
Nothing in the document, no. The big conflict was government versus government of the Moss Brooks versus the Masters.
Okay.
How do you want me to handle this, though?
We'll just call it a flash of inspiration. Like you just
Okay.
you piece this together at some point. We've talked about it enough that at some
Okay.
point something would have triggered.
Yeah, I'm sitting back and all the talk about fire. It looks like the spell was done by Hellish Rebuke, which is done after they strike back and engulfs them in flames. So maybe they did fight back. So we're looking for a warlock of sorts. That's what I'm telling you guys. It was
Okay.
Hellish Rebuke.
So the warlock was the caster?
Either a warlock or perhaps a tiefling, because we also can do that.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Pull up the Satiri Warlock and Tiefling database.
Well, if we think also that these might be like Robin Hood-esque attacks, strategic fighting against the rich and the establishment, I doubt that we're going to learn a whole lot more here at the Guard. Maybe we need to go to the seedier taverns and see if we can pick up anything. I mean, that's certainly what Mira would do because that's kind of her bread and butter, where she just kind of hangs out in the background and observes.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely want the opportunity to do that and see if I can pick up on anything. Um, do Tyrus or Holden have any recommendations for the best places to potentially gather information like that? If they do, I might want to do a little side quest on my own in the evening.
Can I just name a tavern off the top of my head?
Please.
The Snack Crackle and Pop.
Yeah.
Perfect. A fantastic shady place. I'm going to say that that's right on the outskirts of the labyrinth. Half because I just really like the labyrinth. And also, I will add that if you are talking about things in the shade, considering looking around where the masters are, they try to keep an upstanding business of, massage therapy and holistic practice, but, they at least have a reputation.
Okay.
Ah, the old rub and tug.
They've been trying to fight that one in particular for a while. Not super effective.
Okay, and where are the masters? Because it would be easy enough, I think, for the group to drop me off on their way into the labyrinth to acquire the pox seeds.
The masters are all holed up in one of the 7 houses, which are the giant massage parlors, we'll go with,
Okay.
that are scattered around the city.
If we
2 of
start
them
at
are on
the
your map.
House of Rest Nocturnal, we can tick two boxes at the same time.
Let's do it.
Sounds good. And I'm even going to let you pocket a question.
Oh, perfect.
You asked a lot of like background stuff, but I'm not going to charge you for that, so you got one left over.
Awesome. I am going to gather up all of the materials and return them all to Selene so that she doesn't have any problems.
Wonderful. You tell she is very thankful for that.
All right. And what was the name of the place that you said you wanted to go, John?
The House of Rest Nocturnal. It's there on the map too, but I believe that's where Anner spends their time.
All right. Let's go.
Okay. I quickly wanted to make sure that I made a journal entry for Selene so that I can fill that in later. Because otherwise I forget names, like we've seen. And then mysteriously, guild marms at certain embassies change names every session. Whoops. All right. So headed straight to the House of Rest Nocturnal.
Unless there's anything else anybody else would rather do.
I just wasn't sure if I know that there was some talk about going to the labyrinth as well, and I didn't know which order that was.
I would say to the nocturnal first to see if she's there.
Works for me. Let's do it.
I know nothing, but I'm gonna make a called shot in the dark that we're gonna come back and rewatch the VOD to confirm later. The Mossbrook Consortium. In the parlor with the lead pipe.
Dang, that's a bold prediction.
I'm gonna go with Hornal Torset in the Scalcops Labyrinth with the noose.
Bold, considering there was fire. But I see where you're going. Okay. If there are no other predictions, which I'm happy to field, let's make our way across town. The houses are all on the outer edges of town, whereas the Mossbrooks are dead center in the middle of the city. So you have to make your way far to the west of town, side of town, right up against the outer walls. But the House of Rest Nocturnal, as you get close to it, it's get to be about late afternoon, early sunset. This looks like the most comfortable bed and breakfast you've ever stayed at. Which is a really strange thing to say considering we're in a murder investigation. But honestly, for having this seedy reputation of like, oh yeah, people are getting handies when other people aren't looking, like, no, this looks like if you took a Vegas hotel as far as magnitude and mashed it together with almost like Buddhist temple levels of serenity. That's the sort of atmosphere we're getting. As you get up close, there are a decent number of bruisers and guards, not Satiri guards, but like mercenary guards, standing watch. Among them, most notably, is a fairly large orcish woman who gives the lot of you guys a pretty fierce stink eye. And like that stink eye kind of follows as you start walking towards the establishment, like towards the front doors. She doesn't like accost you or anything, but this woman is watching you. When you walk through those front doors, that same sort of serene but still really busy hotel feeling persists inside too. The architecture is very simple, with imported wood and like earthen tones. And for as many people as are walking around, something has to be going on with this building because it feels like you are 15 floors above the din. Like it's so quiet. You could probably fall asleep right where you're standing. The general flow is leading to, there are a couple podiums standing around. It looks like that is intake, we'll say. That's where people are checking in. It's where they are talking to people, getting their changes of towels or their pass to the gym or whatever. Same as with Central Command, there's a decent crowd, but I'm not even going to make you make intimidate checks. These crowds are going pretty quick. You, within a couple minutes maybe, get access to one of the folks at the podium, and he is... It's weird to see an elf this old, but this is an elf that looks old as dirt. Got a smile on his face, though. Very plain but respectable robes. And he smiles so fiercely that his eyes almost look like they're not even open, as he's still managing to size the four of you up. And he speaks as you walk up. Welcome to the Rest Nocturnal. I am Melo, and I am happy to assist you with whatever you may need during your stay.
All right, I will step forward.
So do we play it hard and fast and just be like, hey, Milo, we're looking to hire someone that can burn some shit down after they murder a fella?
Honestly, I like it. Let's do it.
I prefer the stealthy option. So I say, hello, Milo. We didn't make reservations. I hope you can accommodate our group.
4,
We
I
had
suppose.
reservations, but I came anyway.
I can understand.
We only have a few hours, and I'd like to treat my companions to some relaxation that will help clear their minds. What would you recommend?
Well, let's see. What do we have available? He spins 180 degrees and waves his hand. Almost immediately, a tome seems to pop up as if it was sitting there all along. He waves his right arm in a grand flourish, and the book just erupts, and pages start fanning out above and in front of him. And he takes it all in, like he's watching lines in the Matrix. No idea how he's getting all this information. It doesn't even look like some of these pages have writing on them. But after a good 20, 30 seconds, the book recollapses into itself. He says, it appears, due to some recent cancellations, I believe that I could accommodate you and your guests. We have several services available. If you are only here for a short time, I suppose you are not here for an overnight stay, which would likely make scheduling easier.
We are not here for an overnight stay. Tell me more about your services.
Well, traditionally, we at the Rest Nocturnal, as our name would imply, focus on imploring the guests and the city of Satir to slow themselves and enjoy themselves. We think it's important for everyone to truly appreciate the life they have, the time they have. We offer, for those staying overnight, a most relaxing sleep, and for those who are here only for a quick visit, the opportunity to engage in meditation, or in our case, we have several slots open for massage therapy. Of course, the Satiri special. If you would be interested, I can put you into... Yes, we have both services available, I could have you and your friends led through a rather stimulating meditation session. Or if you are more interested in something classic, I could have you scheduled for massages in approximately 20 minutes.
I believe I would be down for meditation. Let me consult with my comrades and see what they'd be interested in. And then I step away from the counter to make
Rub and
room
tug.
for the next person in line. I am not buying you a rub and tug.
Still a rub and tug.
He can afford his own rub and tug.
Fine, just the tug.
Jeez.
We can split a rub and tug. I'll take the rub. You can take
I
the
mean,
tug.
what, a feet out of the question here? What are we feeling?
My hope is that if we spread out, we might be able to pick up some additional information. I'd like to go to the meditation rooms because if I were looking for a clandestine, quiet area to pass information along, especially using things like hand signals, like I communicate with Holden sometimes, then that's where I would do it.
You're going to communicate with hand signals in a rub and tug joint?
No, I'm going to go meditate.
Commence Operation Handjob.
You guys can decide what you'd like to do, but I do think it would be a good idea for us to kind of insert ourselves into this environment.
Here's a question for
Please.
Zell. Is this kind of like a Turkish bath situation? Where, like, you're around other people? Like a sauna type thing? Things along those lines? Or is it like individual, like, private massages and then like a meditation room?
I'm going to keep using the Vegas hotel metaphors because it's working for me emotionally. I don't know if any of you have ever been to the Luxor.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. The concept of having like the rooms overlooking a large central area, like they do in the pyramid,
Okay.
is sort of what we're getting at here, except the building is more straight up than that, where there is a giant central atrium, where in the center of there is a magnificent Zen garden, and then lining the walls pretty much all the way around for a good 20, 30 feet or floors are rooms of various sizes and uses.
Okay.
So it's very possible that there are some larger scale, like class type activities, especially those meditations, probably not done individually,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but also, I mean, you guys just all know that because this is how famous the houses are. You get treated when you are at one of the 7 houses. You're not getting a public massage.
Okay.
But I would imagine that there will be rooms just like every spa that are open for like the holding area that you go prior to receiving your massage, and
Oh,
locker
absolutely.
rooms and rest areas that are only available for people receiving those services.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the massage itself that you're going to be getting information, unless you can charm the person that's massaging you.
That's true. Wow, I just realized I picked the same color as tires. Gross.
Yeah.
All right, what do you guys want to do? Or do you want to just uh we can also just meet with Arn? Is that her name?
I don't think you're gonna just find her by asking for her. Honor, ANR. I'm not sure
Mhm.
how to pronounce it, but I don't think she's. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's
Well,
that easy.
she did list an open job, so it's possible that she would accept visitors. Although the 4 of us walked in together, so the chances of being able to split off and have, a smaller portion of our group meet with her is not likely. I don't know. I leave it up to you guys. What do you want to do?
If we're gonna split up, I'm down to get a massage and keep my ears open. If you want to ask about Aner Honor, I would very much like to be a part of that conversation.
I was also thinking individual massage. Perhaps maybe pick something up in the locker room that's not a venereal disease.
Also,
Sir, we
like,
keep our establishment very clean, thank you.
Doesn't mean the people are clean, buddy.
to the group, and or to eliminate the opportunity or possibility of unfairly metagaming, since we know that the person or persons involved that we're seeking, the person of interest, may be a warlock or a tiefling, are there any telltale signs, Morothos, that we should be looking out for? Is there any, like,
Well, one,
at a
horns.
glance instantly
Horns. Pretty good. Tail. Usually pretty safe too.
Sure. That helps us find the race.
Usually some pocked skin.
Maybe red skin.
No, you can be
Sometimes
multiple
blue.
different colors, but you're definitely
Gross.
gonna have pocked skin, so like almost charred at times.
And what if someone wasn't a tiefling? Is there any hallmarks if they were, say, like a human warlock that we could?
They would most likely be carrying or have on their person a tome that they would really not let out of their sight.
Where's your tome?
It's my arm.
So not always a tome.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of different.
He pushes
I'm not-
buttons on his forearm like he's hitting a Pip-Boy.
Not technically a full-blown warlock.
Oh, you've got a full blownsies.
It's a good thing you're at the massage parlor then.
Is it massage time, or are you going to ask about Aner?
I think it's massage time, personally. Are you talking to somebody else, or?
I was curious if Meg was going to ask.
All right, I'm going to get us back in the queue so that we can go and talk to Melo. And when we get up, I'm going to tell him that the group wants to get massages, and I'm going to go meditate.
Fantastic. He looks even more overjoyed. And when you tell him that, he says, "That is fantastic. I thought this might happen, so just for the interest of your experience, I went ahead and booked those rooms ahead. In the event that you changed your mind, I could just cancel them again, but I had a good feeling about you. Well, I believe then that my work will be done, and I will seek out," and he just, still eyes looking like they're closed, starts looking out into the crowd. When he seems to spot what he's looking for, he places his pointer and middle finger onto his palm, slightly outstretched, and a couple seconds later, a pair of hand attendants, both dressed in the similar plain robes, these ones with their eyes open, appear quietly at attention not more than a few seconds later. He points to one, says, "She will be guiding you to your suites for the purpose of preparing for your massages." He points to the second, a fairly muscular gentleman, says, "And he will be preparing you for joining our meditation halls. Is there anything else I can provide before we part ways?"
I don't believe so. Please show the way.
Is this a
Wonderful.
place where they want Glitch to sit outside, or is Glitch with me?
Glitch is with you, and so far nobody has made like an effort to stop you, or Glitch.
Just blend in, bud.
I imagine like if Glitch was like putting out some exhaust, like if he was rolling coal, probably would have some complaints. But you know, he's house trained. So we have inadvertently split the group, and it sounds like everybody but Mira is going to get massaged.
Sounds good.
Great. I'm going to start with you, Mira. They get led somewhere. There's stairs involved. Sucks for them. You get led across the atrium through some large wooden doors, and it feels like you have walked outside into like the courtyard of the Hotel California, right? Where everybody's having a very pleasant time. There's maybe some gentle guitar plucking and no alcohol. But otherwise, just a nice, peaceful, like quiet party. On the far end, there are a couple other smaller buildings, and one of those buildings is where you are led into. All of the lights are down low, and the sun is at this point setting, so it's getting to be kind of dark. But when you get let in, it looks like there are probably a couple dozen other folks that are all either sitting cross-legged or laying down and just breathing it in. It hits you immediately. There is incense that is definitely laced with some kind of magic in this room. You are quietly guided to the far side, where your attendant whispers as low as you could possibly hear. Ma'am, please, if you wouldn't mind, preparing yourself with a gentle cleansing. He hands you a towel and says, when you have cleaned yourself properly, please feel free to sit, begin a slow breath, and we will have our instructor join you. And the gentleman stands back upright and, silent as a ghost, floats his way back out to the door.
All right. I'm going to go through the motions and then sit down and settle in.
Within like a minute of sitting down, someone, you like eyes closed, you feel a weight next to you, and a second fairly robust male voice says, "Welcome to the House of Rest Nocturnal, miss. If this is your first time, please know that you are in excellent hands. Is there anything that I can do for you before we get started?"
No, I am ready.
Then in that case, when you are ready, close your eyes and envision the room as you wish it to be. And I'm going to have you, before you close your eyes, why don't you give me a, what is that? I keep wanting to say perception check because that's a different game.
I have perception. I also have
Oh.
insight.
Man, perception exists?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's do that.
A
Oh.
3?
Wow. Okay. You know what? That isn't enough that I will give you that there are 26 people in this room. With it being this dark, it's a little hard to tell, like, much about any of them. We are going to skip some of the sensual role playing because your husband's in the game.
Thank you.
But you spend a good hour here, and for the first several minutes of it, the man who is guiding you through this is effectively just whispering in your ear things to help guide you through this meditation. At some point, an incense is lit in front of you. You can feel a tiny bit of heat and then feel the smoke against your face. It feels like the incense is actually touching you. And this, like, once you start to really get into this meditation, it's almost like that becomes the thing that your brain focuses on. They always say, like, you're supposed to focus on a thing, and usually that's your breathing.
Mm-hmm. But
that sensation of the incense on your face sort of becomes the thing that you focus on. When you wake, as I wake, you are awake, but when you come to, you feel a gentle touch on your shoulder. Literally an hour has passed, like nothing. The first thing is I'm going to roll this die to give you 4 temporary hit points.
Woo!
And the second thing is there are a lot fewer people in this room than there were before. And even with your bad perception, that seems odd because this is the busy time, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the after work hours. This is supposed to be busy. Why are there so few people in this room?
Since an hour has passed, can I try another perception roll, or?
Sure.
As I'm getting my bearings.
Mm-hmm.
What? It's worse? What did they put in that incense?
All right.
I've been drugged.
I was ready to give you some like consolation information, but instead I think that we're going to go with 4 temporary hit points after 2 what should have been pretty gimme perception rolls.
Damn it.
We're going to go to the other side, and I'm maybe going to move just a tiny bit faster for a second because I've been doing the last like 5 minutes with my eyes closed to really get into that like incense like meditation mood, and then I opened my eyes and realized it was 8:55. Whoops. So the other 3 of you are guided down the halls, up a few flights of stairs by a tiny elven woman that looks like she is barely actually taking steps. And for all you know, she's got some Heelys on. You are guided, so we'll say on the 3rd floor, to a large sort of holding room. That's a bad way to put it. But where previously the entire theme was this imported wood, the walls are lined with stone. Bright, like marbly stone, not the stone from the dining room. You are instructed to change into the, we'll call them clothes that are provided for you, and to wait until you are called. Wonderful. One at a time, you are called from that reception room by like just disembodied voices in rooms next door. You're called by name. because I'm going to assume that Mira gave you at least your first names. Otherwise, this is weird. These are very gentle, hey, this is your first time massages. Like, nobody's getting punched in the spine. It's probably for the best. But while we can give each other 3 whole temporary hit points, the interesting one is Morithos. Just as you are being laid face down onto the stone bench on which you are about to receive an hour of wonderful massage therapy, a towel is gently laid over the back of your head, which makes seeing a bit difficult. And you hear your same elven girl's voice, the guide, say to you, I was wondering when you would seek me out. It's honor. And that's where I'm going to end the session.
Dun dun dun.
He thinks it's me. I'm not the murderer. Or am I?
I don't think you are, but to be fair, you were quiet in the last session.
Or am I?
So I did it. After all this time, I finally got the party naked.
Nice, congratulations.
I mean, you really
Wait,
This
took
is where you
time
stole
on
all our gear.
Yeah,
Someone stole all our gear.
Mira, you are the exception. But otherwise, yeah.
I'd like to point out
Silly guys.
that Tyrus didn't take his helmet off.
Oh no.
Okay.
Okay, Darth
That's
Helmet. We get it.
Which one?
Yes, the cod piece.
I look forward to starting the next session with 3 naked adventurers bursting out of a room, all barely clad in their towels, trying to fight off whatever I feel like.
Nice.
Can't wait.
Like a horde of succubi. Because we're good,
Oh,
honest men.
you guys. Thank you so much, Zell. That was awesome.
I am happy to. It is 9 o'clock, so I'm going to just briefly mention the next scheduled date is January 20th.